Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. How's everyone? How are you today? I thought I should take a minute to share something that I learned today that is happening in some part of Acholi land, but it's not a surprise. So let's get into it. My name is Lady Winnie. I live in the United States, but I'm an Acholi from Uganda by tribe. Thank you all for the words of encouragement, the support. You know, sometimes I wondered if this was a good way to go or contribute to my country, and it has come to my fulfillment that it actually, has been beneficial to one or two people here and there. So I hope you're one of them. Thank you, Floor. Thank you for coming. Cosmas, thank you. You're the second. I learned something from that's happening in Omoro. Omoro district is a part of northern Uganda where the late Jacob Lanya was a member of parliament, for which he then became Speaker of Parliament. Many of you know that he is succeeded by Mrs. Anita Among. But northern Uganda, a little bit of the history, and maybe I'll do this in Acholi also eventually. What I've learned about northern Uganda from history and what's happening now is that being that power or leadership of Uganda since independence, we had Buganda in the leadership or presidency, then we had Obore, then we had Idi Amin, but with Museveni coming into power, he felt very threatened by, people from northern Uganda. Okay, and so I want to bring it from how we came about to be an area that's very deserted and forgotten, and in fact an area that has been very broken. So right after Obode, his regime is done, Museveni takes over. What Museveni primarily did right away was to try to break Acholi people, or people from northern Uganda and West Nile, because as you might know, Idi Amin is from West Nile. He made sure to break those people so that there will never rise a presidency or leadership or some kind of coup to try to topple him, because he felt very, very comfortable when he became president of Uganda. Remember, Museveni became president of Uganda through Obote regime. After working for Obote for a while, he worked in the military, worked in statistics and areas where he collected a lot of data, okay? And that data, which I think they say he worked for the Bureau of Statistics or something like that, and standards, that data helped Museveni strategically manipulate or disarm, for example, Acholi people, West Nile, or eastern part of Uganda. And so what he did in Acholi, which there's videos to prove, he, first of all, before the camps came about, my father was in the military, so I can attest to this. My grandfather was a medical doctor. What he did, like he's trying to do in Buganda region right now, was to terrorize people, okay? They were so terrorized that even amongst each other, they didn't trust each other, let alone trust people of other regions. If you might remember, the name Anyanya was labeled on the Acholi people or the West Nile or the Eastern people, but mostly the Acholi. Why the Acholi? Because Museveni wanted to make sure that no other part of Uganda would even encourage the thought of dealing with an Acholi let alone working with them or even living with them. You know, so in that way, he started by causing animosity amongst the Acholi people, divisions. Eventually, he started injecting a lot of our elders, like my father's people who joined the NRA and then the Museveni's military. Those people died mysteriously. Many of them were injected with the HIV virus or AIDS. They were helpless. Lacho Hospital already existed. As you know, Idi Amin built all these wonderful places and structures. Obote also did, you know, a good job making a country of Uganda, you know, to the standard of a country on the way to getting, you know, what Museveni talks about, middle income or whatever. He only dreams about, because Museveni has reduced and destroyed everything Idi Amin and Obote built. So, in efforts to break the Acholi people, the Langese, who are directly the Obote's family or tribe, the Acholi people who are close to the Langese tribe, the West Nile where Idi Amin came from, Teso, which was close to, you know, the north and the east, he made sure to make those men to never lift their head again. And if they did, they had no other person to come together with to come up with an idea to overthrow him or to see through him. Remember, Obote knew exactly what Museveni was, but it took him so long to act because he got comfortable with having Museveni help him maintain him in power. But when Museveni learned everything about Obote's government, he broke that government. He took over. So, in essence, Museveni, as a worker in Obote's government, learned every useful information and statistics and just used it to his advantage to break up people and break down any possibility of reorganization. So I want to arrive at something that is happening in northern Uganda, but I'd like to bring it from where it stems from. So then came that time after he takes over government. You know, many people, Acholis were mainly known to be fighters, so they were in the military. Buganda was mainly known to be in trade or business. Western was with Buganda, I believe, in trade and business. And so people like the Karamojongs or Eastern people were much more like the West Nile and Northern Uganda, just, you know, education, and were focused on things like that because it was possible. So after he took over, he made sure that the men were especially killed somehow. Some of them were, because they were in the military, Museveni sent them to places of war, and he set up enemies on the other side to come and kill all the military that were, especially from the Acholi sub-region or Eastern or West Nile. The other way was to inject them with HIV virus. Many of them died. Many of them died. And so they took the virus home and infected families and women and men and you know, families back home. Eventually, because they didn't know how this was happening. Remember, when we think about those times of Phile Bongole Lutaya, when he came out and started to speak about HIV/AIDS, you know, it was something that was already festering, courtesy of Museveni and his Rwandese people. They knew what to do to cause a result that they expect. So that happened. Many military who were actually, in fact, my grandfather, my uncles, my dad were all in the military. It was something of a career of sorts, which you can see in the Western world. People, certain families are designated a certain direction. Like you say, we are all families of the Air Force. You know, all of us are pridefully families of this. Even if someone is a plumber here, you will be surprised. The whole family will follow the lineage of being a plumber, pridefully, because, you know, when you know something and you know it very well and it's passed on, it is something that you always know that there is a fallback position if you need it to. So skillfully, they were able to maintain certain status quo because of their abilities and build and all of that. So killing them through the wars and staging wars and things like that. Like, there's a story about Museveni sending the military to Chisangani in Congo. And Kayira was one of the leaders who was there commanding that troop. But Museveni set up a stage whereby he set enemies to go, you know, as if they were enemies, like he does ADF now. He sent the military on a mission in Congo, in Kisangani. Then he also set up Rwandese troops to go and attack that military at a time that he says they should. So what happens was they set up, you know, pitch camp and all that. And then, you know, the Rwandese people always use the women. They send the women lots of alcohol. So when these guys were nice and drunk, okay, what Museveni then did was to order or send the troops, the Rwandese people, to come and attack the Ugandans in their camp. And so when they did, Kayira, I understand, called Museveni and said, Commander-in-Chief, we are being attacked. What do we do? And guess what Museveni told him? He told him and said, stand down, do not attack. So because he planned it, all the soldiers that were with the Kayiras, all of them were killed. All of them. Indigenous Ugandan soldiers who he picks and gives assignments and says, you have a job to do. You're all going to Congo. Everybody bought the trip, the truck or whatever. Get them there. And then he throws power at, you know, he kills them. He set up the Rwandese military to go and attack, and indeed they killed all the military there. So in many ways, he has been able to chop power and things here and there to try to keep him in power. That is why you see that even those great people that were in the bush with Museveni, the people like Kayira, you know, people who came with him, you will notice that none of them is still here, but Museveni is still here. Okay, all his Rwandese people, you will never hear that they're going to a burial of some Rwandese fallen general or something like that. No, it is always the Ugandan people who are dying like flies. You know, Besigye was in the bush with him. Salim Saleh was in the bush. How come he's not, you know, affected in any way? There's several others. Nothing happens to those people, but the Ugandan ones die daily. So anyway, so then comes, you know, HIV and many of the soldiers being killed that way. Then Museveni feels dissatisfied because he realizes that there's still young adults or young people who are growing up in the Acholi sub-region. And I'm talking, when I say Acholi, I mean like West Nile also, and some part of Teso. What he does then is to figure out how to compromise them further. Okay, many of you are aware of the LRA war, which happened in northern Uganda. Before the LRA war, there was the Karamojongs, or people who are stealing cows or just hitting and running. They would come and attack a village and run away, or take their cows and all of that. It is no wonder the Museveni people came with nothing, okay? But now they have millions of cows. Those were the cows they raided from northern Uganda, Teso, Karamojong, and took them to wherever, you know, the Rwandese people, communities and the groups, they divided it among themselves. These people came barehanded. If you see some photos of like Kagame walking around, I mean, it's like a homeless guy. You know, the Musevenis came, they were refugees. They were registered refugees without much, but now own everything in Uganda. Everything, basically. The real indigenous Uganda struggles to get by every day, to even get food, to live on less than $1, and maybe they don't even see $1 for a week. I can, you know, it's true, because the support, people who live abroad or people who have family that live abroad can attest to you that truly when there's nothing, when somebody says we have nothing, it is nothing. I remember being in that place where we didn't have a penny, and that's it, nothing. So if you didn't have anything in the garden or anything anywhere, there was nothing. And that's where we are now. That is where we are. But in the Acholi sub-region, after taking all their cows, taking all of their adults in the military or the armed forces, or the educated, they thought and said, how else can we break these people further? What did they do? They started to cause the LRA war. In the LRA war, the Lord Resistance Army war, truly, when the NRM or Museveni's people were starting to attack Acholi people, when Joseph Kony stood up to come and then they labeled him a terrorist, you know, like they're trying to label National Unity Platform and His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu as a rebel, Joseph Kony came up to support his people. The Alice Lakwanas and all of that, they came to try to fight this Museveni people. People like Mugisha Muntu should be able to tell the real story about what happened in northern Uganda. So anyways, starting from 1986, around the time Museveni comes to power, the LRA war lasts around 20 years. 20 solid years. Imagine. People living in camps, all of the adults. So everything that Museveni intended was to be sure to eliminate every intellectual, every educated person, every senior, everyone that knew good history. The same things he's now doing in Uganda, trying to eliminate the wealthy or the people who are well-to-do or knowledgeable or elites. He did in Acholi sub-region. They sent spies to villages to spy on who is who. You know, let alone coming out to say which people are the Obote people, which people are not the Obote people. No. This time he sent spies to find out which people are strong enough or brilliant enough that could regroup and cause his government to fall. So then we have the LRA war. Many, many thousands and millions of people, young children, you know, they'll tell you about child soldiers, or they'll tell you about children who had to travel from home to their place to sleep in the night every day because they feared that in the villages they'd get attacked and taken away. And so all of that happens. Joseph Kony is labeled a terrorist or a rebel. And so Museveni acts like he's on a manhunt for Joseph Kony. Now, if you can think with me a little bit, truly, if Joseph Kony was in the backyard in Acholi sub-region, okay, and Museveni is the president of Uganda, let's say that the way people portray Museveni, the Western world that thinks Museveni is all powerful and that, why was he not able to put out a war in his backyard in northern Uganda, in Acholi sub-region? If truly Museveni is the power that they think he is, just to show them that this man hoodwinked the Western world into thinking that he is a peacemaker in the region. He's the Somalian person, he's the person here and there. How come he could not put out war in his backyard? That goes to show you how far these people have come to try to take over Uganda and put us out of existence. So the war happens, many children go into camps, all the adults are slaughtered, they're gone, they're killed. Many fathers and grandfathers do not exist. They're all gone. Now we have a group of people who are left. Most of them, you know, children, 18 and onward, maybe 28, 30. These are children who have no roots, okay? Because they got left behind after the war, they don't have somebody to rely on to tell them their history. Neither do they have somebody. Yes, Auma, you're absolutely right. Neither do they have somebody to help them understand where they're going. This is the reason why Acholi is a little bit more backward than most parts of Uganda. It's because they were cut off from development for over 20 years. They developed a culture of dependence. The same thing Museveni promises that Ugandans are now going to suffer. He's going to make them poor. He did that to Acholi sub-region. He took everything, every wealth they thought they had, and pride. Men can tell you how they were mistreated as men in front of their women, and children just dehumanized, you know. So it helps me bring us to a point where the people of Acholi, especially the young youth who are just doing things on their forging life around, they cannot attach as well as other regions of the country because they don't have the roots to. Many of us actually got outside of the country. A lot of Acholi people or Northern Ugandans left the country and came abroad. So, and then obviously you have seen like the elders, like the Lokech people, the Jacobo, the people who were just here and there broken down or killed. Imagine Lokech coming from Somalia to Uganda to work under Museveni, and then he dies of just a very simple thing. That goes to show you how much this Museveni has meant to break down the Acholi people. So, long story short, his brother is now in Acholi. Salim Saleh has pitched camp there. He lives there. He married one of the Acholi girls and killed them when it was time for him to just get rid of her. There's a story about that. There's always a story. But listen, there's something new that has happened in Omoro. Okay? There has been 2 men and a woman who have gone to a place called Tegot in Awere. That's in Omoro district. And these 2 men and a woman are, they look like they are from Western Uganda, but they are Rwandese. Either they are being helped by a Westerner to look like it is something about Banyankole or something. It is not. Okay? One thing Ugandans we have to do is unite. In fact, I wish we had a universal language that we could eliminate, division amongst ourselves. I know Luganda has been really great about that because a lot of people came to the city and we all speak it. I grew up in Nakawa in Uganda, so I do speak Luganda fairly well and I understand it very well. So let us not divide each other, which Museveni intends for us to do because it's easier for him to manage us when we fight. Let's not fight. So anyway, in Tegot, Awere, in Omoro district, there was 2 men and a woman who have come to a village. Tegot means on the mountainside or hillside. And I don't know. Good morning, people power, good morning. Tegot in Acholi means at the hillside or by the hill. Okay? Now, these 3 people all of a sudden showed up to a community of people who live there. I mean, they're villages, okay? They're communities of people living there. So they showed up and said they have been sent by the government to come and have a meeting with that community. And so they called people together. And so because people are not, like I said, when I look at Buganda, people are very connected and communicative, and they share information a lot. But in the area where we are, in the north, sometimes there's a disconnect. Not because we want to or for any special reason. It is just that because of the circumstances that we have gone through, people feel like they're fed up of suffering or any more wars. They don't want to do that anymore. So they'll just say, you know what? Okay, let's just go. So they went to this meeting. And those 3 people said that they were sent by a government project to come and talk to these people about them moving away from that land. Because apparently now the government wants to build a marketplace and build a school and a tourist site. Now, if anybody knows Awere or Omoro district, there is no such thing as development when it comes to education, healthcare, even commerce, like market or anything like that. None of that is in existence. Okay? So a promise like this looks to me like Rwandese trying to occupy or take over that land. So anyway, so they come and meet with these people and talk to them and say they are going to compensate each person 5 million. 5 million Uganda shillings for them to leave their land. Now, there's no promise about them being relocated properly or being moved to a place where they can continue their life. If you remember, there's a video that I saw circulating one time about, in fact, NTV had a program where they talked about a village or some villages in the parts of Sebei where people have been living in a camp for over 20 years. they were vacated from their land in a very similar manner. So I'm here today early and quickly because I feel like this is where this is going. They want to take over that land and displace people and never give them an opportunity to go back there or to even give them where to continue. These people will end up in camps. The ones who are excommunicated from Sebei area have suffered for a very, very long time. Many have been eaten by wild animals. Many of them tried to go and work in Kenya and it failed. But many of them lost where they were, their homes, where they belong. Okay? So, people of Omoro, my people of Omoro in Awere, please do not allow for those people to come and take over your land. You have your heritage there. You have buried your people there. Okay? And it is home for you. 5 million shillings will not change your life. I promise you. Million a beach. Pebo lako kuoni. Autimbe po ye loka gamente mai tegot gankununi. Tegot Omoro Iawere po ye lok nikono gamente mirungome enuni meketu gankwan ki tourist site. Okay? Please, people of Tegot, Omoro, do not allow, because that is not, the new government policy is to fail you and chase you away from their land so they can take it over. Do not allow that to happen. So while they promise a tourist attraction site there, they're promising a hospital and this and that, but the schools in Awere, the hospitals in Awere don't even have running water. They don't have water. If somebody has to go to deliver, they have to bring their own water. They bring their own glove and things like that. Okay? There is no medicine. The schools are in the worst stage possible. So, the LC3 of Omoro, I understand, is aware of this. And he was intimidated because he was told that it is a government policy or it's a government program and he must allow it. So, when he came to meet with these people, or when these people went to cry to him, he told them that because it is the government, they should allow for what the government has to do or what they're saying. But I can tell you, some of you traveled to Omoro area during the times where, hello Musa, during the time when the late passed away. Many of you commented on how terrible the roads were. Many of you commented on how things was, people were so poor. I mean, so poor. Okay? So imagine that and this type of strategic plan, you know that is not meant for the people. Not in any way. So anyway, so they want to do that. One of the women who was invited to the meeting refused to sign the paperwork. You know, they did get people to sign. Whoever attended that meeting had to sign paperwork. So some of them signed, this woman signed, and then they've decided to go back a few times to go and coerce her to sign. The second time they went, she was not at home. The third time they told her that if she doesn't sign, they are going to remove her by force. Okay? This is something that we talked about before the election happened. I knew, and we all knew, that it's only going to get worse before it gets better. So that woman is possibly going to lose her life because she said no. Because that is where she was born. My mother's side comes from this place called Awere. Recently, we just transferred our people from Gulu to this location in Awere, where we had our people who were buried in Gulu were transferred to be buried there. So you can tell that it's something that is deeply concerning for me. But like all Uganda, we are facing the same problems. That is why we should all come together and work together to get rid of these people. Okay? So they say that people will be pushed out. As I speak, most people in that area are sleeping in the bush. Why? Because they are terrorized all the time. The people who come and walk around and spy are strangers. They are foreign. They look dangerous. They have weapons, you know. So it's not normal anymore in Awere, in Tegot. Not normal anymore. So, my people of Acholi, I know that we have struggled already through the LRA war and all that. But I hope and pray that we can regroup and try to fight for ourselves, because truly, there is no other way for us to achieve freedom, and maybe it will take more losses. There's no other way to achieve freedom than to fight again and again and again. John Nimero Tiakawa Okigangwa actually Kenya. They want to finish us. Okay? So, as much as everything that has happened has caused us a lot of pain and headache, we have to stand firm. That 5 million will not get you anywhere. It is not going to change your life. And by the way, that is just a promise. Many of you are supposed to be compensated for the so-called cattle which they stole from you and took to own. They have never paid the cattle. So don't be surprised if that 5 million will never show up. And worse still, with that 5 million, you will not have continuity. Where do you take the people you have buried there? Will you ever have a grave to go and mourn your people? No. So, this may be a beginning of another Choli war, because they are everywhere. These Rwandese people are everywhere. Everywhere in the Acholi sub-region. They are taking over. Poye, do not sell your land. No matter how challenging things are, because even if they buy your land, they are going to find a way to kill you. You know? They will find a way to get rid of you. In Buganda, these people killed people secretly in the bushes. When you go to the garden, you don't come back. When you go to certain activities, you don't come back. Museveni is no longer going to shoot people. He's going to slowly kill and get rid of people through poisoning. Acholi, utimbe poye. And I'm speaking Acholi, West Nile, everybody. In Teso, Museveni burned people in the trains. Pridefully. You talk about Hitler and the Jews? No. Museveni is worse than Hitler because of the things that he does that are so extreme and for so long that he doesn't care. You know, he's trying to say that Bobby Wine has gone to the Western world and is seeking pity out there. Same so-called Minister of Foreign Affairs, Okeloriem. People like that help us lose respect for them. You know, they talk about respect here and there, but at some point, our elders will not have any respect coming from us because the future belongs to us. And they've been sitting there with arms folded, enjoying the gains or protecting their personal gains, that they're not standing up for us. People like Lokech, people like the late Jacob Olanya, those were the people who fought. In fact, there's an example of a land that was being taken away in Kitgum, where Lokech, and this might be part of where his plot, the plot to kill him started. There was land that was supposed to be taken away from a place in Kitgum. But when Lokech found out about it, he came and tried to stop it and was able to get that land back from those people who are trying, the Rwandese people who are trying to buy it. Actually, this was Toilet. When he was alive, he did come and take it away and take it back to the hands of the people. So we have lost Walter Ochara, Toilet, Lokech, Jacob Olanya. Those were the strongholds. I'm not sure if people like Mao will be faithfully there for their Acholi people. So we need to open our eyes as the people of that area. And when I speak of Acholi, this applies to every region of Uganda. Open your eyes and fight hard, because these people have no limits. No limits. No limits. It will take a lot. It will take a lot of effort. It will take a lot of us. But it is worth it, because it will be once and for all. People like Salim Salegi there in northern Uganda, Kenya. Auyen yo. Auyen yo. Uneni Johnny Bendong guye ni one karawana chuleda. We need to. We need to. I understand Museveni is happy that the fasting period for Islam or for Muslims is coinciding this time with that of the Christians. He's happy about that because now he knows that the Christians, both Christians and Muslims, hearts are softened by being in the fasting period, or that they're weaker during the fasting period with a new focus. But that should not deter us from focusing or keeping our mind on the goal. Museveni does not like Muslims. He will come and do something. I saw a picture of Anita Among with one of the Muslim leaders today. You know, that is not a person who they should trust and be around, especially during this period of Ramadan. These people are evil and dangerous. Let us keep the faith, keep fighting, stay together. Whether you are Choli, you are Muganda, you're from Ankole, you're from the south, anywhere you are Ugandan first. Let us not divide each other. Let us stay together and fight on and lead on. Our President, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, thank you for coming, because our eyes are open now. And we should keep focused and keep our mind and focus on the goal. This is achievable. Museveni is on his knees and he knows time is up. Okay? So, despite everything that's going on, let us not despair. Let us pray for the best, because as you know, so much is happening here in the West, especially in the ICC, European Union. This woman is now being summoned to appear, the ambassador of Uganda to Belgium. She's Mariam, I think her name is Mariam Black. She's going to be speaking and speaking under oath. So she better come clean about the facts of what's going on. But that goes to show you how much Museveni doesn't care about us. Why would he send a German person to go and be an ambassador of Uganda? For Uganda, for Ugandans, she doesn't even know what our culture entails or what we need. If she has lived in Uganda, she has lived in the high life. She has not lived in Uganda as a country where she'll speak for the medical conditions in Uganda, education conditions, or political climate in Uganda. But that goes to show you how much this man does not care for us. But I think we have him in the right place. Everything is moving in the right direction. We are almost there. That house is shaking more than it has before. Even when they come up to the media and look like everything is nice and rosy. No. That kind of Mzimu person is troubling him. Definitely. So let's keep focused. I wanted to share that thing about northern Uganda, especially. People of Omoro Tegot, do not allow that woman and those men to get you to sign anything, because you are signing your life and land away. You are signing that land away. And if they show up, you know what to do. We have to take care of ourselves. Just don't agree, don't sign. And if that LC is causing trouble, find a way to let him know that he can't do that. Museveni has woodwinked Acholi. 5 million will not do anything for you. No. No, many of us are suffering. It's too much. It's too much. How can you struggle, suffer for a little bit, because eventually you will get more than you have now. But it takes a struggle, because what he really wants is to keep you poor and without anything. Okay? I love you all, and I thank you very, very much. I will see you all again tomorrow. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever your time is. Our love and care to you. Stay faithful, stay positive, be hopeful. Do not lose hope. If anything, change is coming, and it's coming soon. Thank you very much. Bye.